and welcome to this edition of Finweek's Money Matters. Remember, this is the show that helps you manage your finances. I'm Dumisho Greater. Coming up on the show today, we'll be taking a look at the South African art market, and then we'll be discussing the outlook for pharmaceutical group Aspen. Later on in the show, we'll be joined by a panel of experts to discuss the outlook for the construction sector. But before we get into all of that, do remember that we do want to hear from you, so you can send us your comments or feedback to moneymatters@abn360.com. But first, let's get straight into it with the trend of the week. British auction company Bonhams is one of the biggest auctioneers of South African art worldwide, with deals of more than 1 billion rand that have been struck over the past 9 years. The next South African auction at Bonhams is coming up on the 16th of March in London, where an Irma Stern, a painting, is expected to fetch as much as 6.6 million rand. But joining us in studio to talk more about the outlook for the local art market is Finweek contributor, that is Johan Myburg. Thank you so much, Johan, for making the time to join us. So this auction started back in 2007. By then, you must have been able to see some of the trends that have happened over the past couple of years. What have you seen that has unfolded in terms of this landscape?
It was interesting. Initially, before 2007, an auction house such as Bonhams grouped South African art with art from Australia and from Oceania and wherever. It was only the first South African show was in 2007, and they auctioned a Gerard Sekoto work, and it achieved 10 times what they sort of thought it would fetch, and that was the impetus for South African art in London. Now, since then, the South African market has developed. I think in 2011 there was that 34 million rand Irma Stern on Bonhams in London. I don't think we will find a work of that price in the near future. It was the height of the art market, South African art market, and it was an exceptional Irma Stern.
Is there an impact regarding the currency? We've all heard about the pros and cons of the currency and what it will mean for South African tourism in the art world. Does this have a bearing at all?
Well, the artwork would remain stable. There's an intrinsic value attached to the artwork that is based on a number of factors. But I would say possibly it would be better to sell a work at the moment in London and to buy a work in South Africa because of the Rand Sterling exchange.
Just another point, in February, I understand, there was a piece that was sold by a Ghanaian artist, and I hope I get this right, I've been practicing, Elanutsui, for 17.8 million rand at an auction in London. But this was by a Ghanaian artist.
Yes.
Are there subtle differences between the different regions, South African artists versus artists from other parts of the world?
Well, I must say that we're talking now about contemporary art.
Yes.
Irma Stern would be considered modern art. Now, there's up to 2000, contemporary art didn't feature at auctions. It was sales at galleries. As I've said, from 2000 onwards, contemporary art came out strongly, and specifically African contemporary art. Now, there's a number of South African artists. There are a number of South African artists doing well, like William Kentridge, like Deborah Bell, like Robert Hotchins. But there's also a very, very strong Ghanaian, Nigerian, Kenyan contemporary art scene. And they are Africa is the flavor of the month as far as contemporary art is concerned. Just now there was the Armory show in New York where African art featured and blossomed.
So I'm hearing these big amounts, so at 17.8 million, I'm hearing 6.6. This is not something that I may be able to get my hands on, or maybe even the average South African. So if you're an art lover and you are hearing that, African art is doing so well, how would you get your hands on, on maybe get a foot into the art world and participate without breaking the bank?
You see, it's possibly the same thing as buying a motor car. You check out the car you want, you check the specs, you go for a test drive, you get acquainted with the vehicle you want to purchase. The same with art. Spot an artist's work that you like. It's first and foremost is that you must like the work. So that make sure that it's in your bracket. And then follow the artists, go on the website. They all have websites these days, on Facebook. Go to gallery openings. You can bid online. There's no need to go into an auction house these days. You can do it all online.
And at least it won't be in the millions. It'll be something that.
No. If you spot a young upcoming artist.
How do you know it's a good piece of art? I mean, is that something very subjective? I mean,
how do you know it's a good vehicle? You love it. It talks to you. And I think that is the most. And read up, follow, as I said, follow. When did the artist exhibit? What is the prices the work is fetching? So get acquainted with the artwork and the art world, I would say.
Do your research. Thank you.
Do your research.
Johan, thank you so much for educating us. This is certainly new to me, being in the art world, but I think I'll go online, have a look there. It's within my price range there. Millions, not so much yet. Thank you so much to Finweek contributor, that is Johan Myburg. Right now, let's take a look at this week's killer trade.